to another Wednesday morning, Tuesday evening episode of the Middle Age Gaming Podcast, video live show channel to talk about everything related to games, especially if you're an older gentleman or lady or whatever you are. We have lots to talk about. We're about to talk about something I regret that it is going to happen, but I'm still academically interested in the subject. Without further ado, Antoine, tell us, what are we going to talk about and why am I going to regret it?
You're going to regret it because it's only 15 minutes, so I guess it's just Adam and myself who's going to regret it. And it's nothing related to today's news, actually, or the week as a whole. It's just a general topic that we really wanted to broach, and it's Adam and myself, top 3 Final Fantasy game of the series. Please keep in mind that we didn't play all 1 to 16, and it's going to be very, very subjective, right? There's no objectivity there at all, but we're going to try to give you pro and cons for each of our game. So we're going to start with number 3. And because I'm going to start with number 3, and after Adam, if you will, you can do 3 and 2, etc., etc. So my number 3 Final Fantasy, I'm not going to surprise anyone, going to fall off your chair, but I know that some will disagree. My number 3 is Final Fantasy VIII, which I know that a lot of you consider as one of the best, and I do agree, the story is great. At the time, the graphics were fantastic. There's a couple of things which makes me not number 1 for me, or even number 2, is that I usually, and it's very subjective, but I hate time travel stories. For me, it doesn't work. It never works. And Ultimacia and everything, it's really well made in the game. I just can't, get into it. And yet, despite that, it's still my number 3. Yes, in front of Final Fantasy X, for instance, we get an honorable mention, but I just hated the gameplay. Which is why it's not in my top, and that's everything I have, because we only have 15 minutes, so that's all for my number 3 Final Fantasy VIII. So Adam, which one is yours? Good choice. And arguably one of the best, if not the best bad guy of the entire franchise. Kafka is fantastic. Way better than all the rest. My number 2, strangely, is Final Fantasy VII. It's not my number 1. Why is that? Again, because of the story being a bit too brainy for me at the time. I was still a kid at the time, so I know, give me a break. But the cast was fantastic. I really like Sid at the time in his Rocket City. That was absolutely fantastic. That's definitely the game that I finished the most. And I really love the challenge, the fact that you can finish the game, and even after the game, you have the weapons, the bloody review weapons and emerald and extra to finish after the game. So I don't really need to argue why this is a fantastic game, and it's ahead of all the others. But I still have top 1. Adam, do you have 7 in your top 3? Remember that at the time of FF7, there was barely any internet. There was no social media or anything. There was no way. It's same. Uh, I really don't care what people think anyway. Fair enough. I wouldn't be able to put it in my tops because I remember I was shocked when I was a kid because it introduced something that was very rare in video game, or almost you never have this. It was permadeath, right? You had no, you have some main heroes, but your party was usually big, like in Fire Emblem or something. But if one of your character die and you don't revive him or finish the battle after 3 turns or something, your character dies. And when I was a kid and one of my main character died, Dragoon, I remember like, what the hell? I thought he was just knocked out. And that really shocked me when I was a kid on Game Boy. So that's why I never went back to tactics. Even though I heard some Fire Emblems are very good, it killed it for me. I'm gonna leave you the honor of going with number one after you finish your drink. Yes. And because it's an MMO, I didn't think about it, strangely. But it counts because, look, 11 was an MMO and it didn't really take off as much as 14 did. So, no, very, very good choice. For me, that would be Final Fantasy 9. Because at the time, I was completely taken about by the quality of the graphics, the cinematics, and the gameplay, the cast is really good and all. I really like medieval fantasy, which of course is much better for me than 7 and 8, which is much more futuristic than the 9th. So that's the setting which I really loved. But each time you had a summon coming, you have I can't remember which one destroys the tree of the rats, or you have Atomos blowing in bloom, or every time you had a summon cinematics, it was like I was a kid looking at my screen, I'm like, oh, best game ever, and it was fantastic. The only problem, which I still keep it as number one, but arguably the final boss is crap. I can't even remember the final boss, to be honest. I remember the twin of Zidane or something like this, but it's not even him, the last boss. Like Kujo. Exactly, yeah. Kujo could have been a nice final boss, and there's another one which I can't even remember now. And I mean, it's hard for me not to remember final boss, so that's a big flaw, unfortunately. But still, Yeah, exactly. Well, that's very Japanese. But that's it. Do we still have time on our 15 minutes or not? Yes. I just wanted to ask you 4 minutes, fair enough. Because we talked about very famous and very lovable games. Why did you not talk about 10? I know why I didn't, but why you didn't talk about 10 or 13 or 12 or whatever? For me? You wouldn't be. I tried it. I tried, and I swear the corridor between two locations are just killing the game for you. Seriously, that's just not good. Not like. Ah. And I'm surprised you didn't talk about 16 because it must be fresh on your mind. You just finished it. It didn't. You know my personal hate about 15, so I'm not even gonna talk about it. Okay, last minute. And 12 was a good game, but too generic and far too slow, which was corrected after. And also this problem of you open a chest in the first 5 hours of the game, meaning that you don't get Zodiac Spear at the end. And you're like, what the hell? That doesn't work at all. That's the end of our very, very short debate. It's not even a debate, right? But our top three Final Fantasy. I really hope that you liked it. Don't forget to please tell us your top three, why, and do it with respect, right? We are not a toxic fan base is automatically banned. Go away, we don't want you. We want to have a nice debate with you and talk about it in the comments. Thank you.
All right, Adam, move on to your first story.
I never even played Space One, so you're not gonna convince me of buying the day one because of this.
I gave remakes a try. Go ahead. Yeah, I had this romantic idea about remakes back in the day. I remember bought the Bioshock remakes after I played my first Bioshock game was Bioshock Infinite. Like, I feel like a fair number of people were, especially if you didn't have access to a lot of games back when you were a kid or you couldn't afford them. And I'm like, oh God, this is awesome. Let me buy the others. Or like, there's a really famous samurai FPS game in the early 90s, which I played the second one or the modern remake, which was like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm like, that's awesome, that's fun. Let me try the original. Nope, can't do it anymore. So I'm like, nope, I will never play a remake just because there's so much new stuff, and especially now if you have a PlayStation 5 and you have an awesome gaming PC like Adam does, or you have a Switch like Antoine has and a nice gaming PC, and I have a Switch and a nice gaming PC. You have so much stuff to play, so many choices, not to mention mobile games on your phone or your iPad. It's just, I don't think there's time for remakes for middle-aged gamers, in my opinion anyway.
It was awesome, by the way, the remake. I loved it.
On that very funny note, my first story is going to be Frostpunk 2, or the ideas of games that have consequence. So I've been trying to get. I grew up playing strategy games. My first strategy game was Civilization. What are you pointing at, Anton?
Noble Cooper saying, Adam, you muted. Please check.
Let me check here.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, sorry about your cutting into your story.
No worries.
OBS,
It's good.
Yeah, OBS apparently decided that it wanted to switch mics on me.
I started off with the wrong mics. I switched it to the right one. Okay, take 2. My first story for today is the game Frostpunk 2, or games, the idea of games that have consequence. So, short story is I grew up playing strategy games that got me into gaming. I played Civilization and I think every Civilization until the latest or the last Civilization, the way I won every Civilization was I killed everybody. I was the only civilization left, and usually through nuclear weapons. Like, that was the thing I did when I was a kid. I'm like, nuclear weapons sound interesting. Let's do it. And then we dealt with radiation and all that sort of stuff that was interesting. So I played Frostpunk. Frostpunk was maybe not a long line, a medium line of games. I'm like, okay, I got to get back into strategy. This is what got me into gaming. I've never been able to get back into strategy. But that being said, Frostpunk 1 is really fun, really beautiful, really interesting. If you've never played Frostpunk, you can sort of think of it as like a city builder. And during the pace of a city builder, you have decisions to make. And these decisions influence like how your game ends up being, or like what happens towards the end of the game. It might reduce your supplies for certain things. And this is like a universally loved game in terms of its look, in terms of the decision, in terms of the way the game flows and plays and the structure. So Frostpunk 2, the beta is available right now. Release date is 26th of July 2024, of course, coming out by 11-bit Studios. It is, wow. $670. That is cheap because that's not the price that I saw. So again, this might just be a Taiwanese price. So again, I'm really conscious of that because you guys were like, what? This is not the price on the American store. Yes, I know, but I can't see any other price. It is $15, $20 on the Taiwanese store for Frostpunk 2, which is for a better, much more expensive game. Is pretty awesome. But yeah, Frostpunk 2, like what is the difference between 1 and 2? It says revisit Frostland 30 years after the Great Storm and face a new deadly threat to your city's future. Human nature, I like that idea. Build your city on a new scale by creating entire districts with different purposes, industrial, scientific. There's one thing I will say, like the first game was not like you couldn't build this massive city like in retrospective, right? At least for me, I played about 7 to 10 hours in the first game. Your city was enough to fit in your screen. It's not like playing what's that game by Paradox, the city game, City Skylines, right? City Skylines, you know, or like a SimCity game back in the day, right? You have to like move your screen around to sort of see all your city. In Frostpunk, for me, it was just everything fitted on your screen. But this, if you're looking at the trailers on Steam or some of the other videos, you'll see like this requires you to sort of shift around and look and see where everything is. So I'm not going to spoil all of it. Basically, bigger, better, also really affordable at the same time. So if you're looking for a really cool city builder and you're going to finish something just before the end of July, this might be something for you.
Precision on the Canadian store, it's $57, so it's, you know, normal price, I guess.
That's strange. I don't know why is it super cheap on the Taiwanese store.
But take it then, please. I have, you know what? Before tonight, I didn't even knew there was Frostpunk 2, and I loved the first one. Really good game. I was like, yeah, talk about it, yeah, woo! I was doing my fangirl. It's really good. If you haven't played it, really try. It's a survival, and you have to take a lot of moral decision, right? Will I take this mouse to feed, or will I let them freeze to death? Because, you know, it's much easier for my colony to have less people, but that makes less worker. You know, this kind of moral choice. Do I put the kids in the mines? No, that was fun.
All right, Antoine, what's your second story?
Second story, so I'm going to talk about, we talked about Halo Season 2 recently, and now in the long line of video games being made into either movies or shows, we have Fallout coming out on Amazon Prime. I haven't checked it yet, but the first reviews I saw are really good. Apparently, it's a very good show, so I'm definitely going to try it out. And from what I see, the video games actually are getting back, you know, in the hype thanks to the show. And there's some things which were pretty fun. I found it, so let me catch my note because I really don't know the game. In episode 2 of the show, so if you know the cosplayer, good for you. The cosplayer of Assaultron was doing a cameo in episode 2, and apparently he's awesome. So that's fantastic. I really like, you know, when the big money show do that. That doesn't mean that it's going to be a good quality show because they do that. Like, remember Star Wars, you know, they invited the 501st Legion, which is excellent. Thank you, very nice. Of course, the movies were not good, but it's always a nice touch from the studios. Yeah, I'm not going to go further on that. But yeah, so if you do have Amazon Prime, I want to recommend, even if I haven't seen it yet, but to see Fallout and tell us in the comments, is it something worth putting time in it? Because we are middle-aged gamer, we don't have that much time to put into shows and stuff like this, especially if we want to play Helldiver. So do you recommend that I actually purchase Amazon Prime for a month just to see Fallout? I'm waiting to see your news.
So I watched the first episode last weekend. It was really, really good, and I was a little bit worried about the gore aspect of it. And it's there, but it's not visible. Like, I hate seeing blood splatter and brains everywhere. Oh God, that really grosses me out. But no, it was really fun, really well acted, and walking around, seeing things and seeing the bombs explode for the first time. And it was fun. And of course, right, if you're into that sort of stuff, there's all like all the videos, right? Like I watched the usual wide video, most Googled questions about Fallout and the cast answers, and only out of the, the guy who plays the ghoul, the lady, and the guy who plays the brother from Steel, the lady actually played the video game Fallout 4, if you can believe it. And she knew questions like how many volts are there. I'm like, oh god, I didn't know that. So it was really fun. There's lots of additional content. I've only watched one episode just because I won't watch this kind of show, especially because it is in 4K. I do want to watch it because I work at home. I don't like sitting and watching TV here. I prefer to watch it somewhere else. So I'll only watch one episode a week. So I'll only finish Fallout 2 probably in June, because there are 8 episodes, and I want to watch them all in 4K. And I don't want to watch them here. I want to watch them on a TV or on my MacBook. But so far, amazing. Definitely recommend it if you're into if you're looking into sci-fi stuff, like this is just up anybody's alley pretty much.
Funny thing, even though I love post-apo, I never played one Fallout. I know the story, right? The vault and all. I never played one. I tried one on Fallout New Vegas, I think. And, remember when you talk about Bioshock and the old style gameplay and all, and straight away I was like, nah, I just can't jump back on this. So I'm going to watch the show to catch up on what I missed.
Yeah, the show's a unique story. It's supposedly canon, though, so... And I guess they said that when they interacted with the crew, the crew had some ideas on what to do for the show, and a couple times they had to be like, we want to save that for Fallout 5. So apparently there are some hints in the show of what we might see in Fallout 5. So
that means Fallout 5 is in the works then?
It's in the planning stages.
And not for 5 years. Okay.
Or 20.
But I saw Todd Howard was asked, like, what about Skyrim as a TV show and stuff? And what about X as a TV show? And he says, like, nope, only going to be Fallout for the moment because that's what works. And it makes sense. Like, you'd hate to do a show following Fallout and then it bombs. I mean, that would destroy your fan, whatever it is called in English again. But yeah.
I think Fallout has like a goofiness to it too, that you can kind of do it kind of as a dark humor, whereas with a Elder Scrolls thing, you'd have to take it a little more seriously, and I think that would be a lot harder to do because that would be probably closer into line where it's like The Witcher, where it's not quite as serious as Game of Thrones, but yeah, that seems to be kind of a hard kind of genre to crack, that semi-humorous but semi-serious fantasy. Yeah.
I mean, how would you compete though, like with Lord of the Rings and Amazon footing $250 million an episode? Like how would you convince Amazon? Like, by the way, yeah, give us another $250 million an episode to make an Elder Scrolls Skyrim TV show.
Yeah.
Amazon has the money, but I don't think they'd want to do another Lord of the Rings, considering they've already committed to 3 seasons of Lord of the Rings, despite the first one having like a middling reviews. I liked the first one, but it was a little bit slow.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, what is your second story?
My second story is going to be... Oop, no, that brought it up. No, hang on. That's wrong. Anyway, I'm going to try to fix this real quick. But while I do that, my second story is going to be about Blizzard. So let me get my sources here. Oh, no.
Them again.
I know. Them again. There we go. Wait, what? Oh, wait, hang on. There we go. Pop that out. And there. Okay, great. I don't know why that all went sour really fast, but it did. All right, so anyway, the Mike Ibarra, am I pronouncing that correctly? He is a former president of Blizzard, or is he the current president? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, he came out and he said that he loves the idea that, you know, when he's playing a game sometimes and he's doing a great, you know, it's going great, he just really feels like he'd like to show a little bit of extra appreciation to the creators of the game. And so what he would love to be able to do is to give a tip to the game, like some kind of, I guess there's tipping apps out there or whatever, but yeah, he'd love to be able to tip the devs. So he would just, click a button and it would send $10 or $20 to the developers. And, they would get a little tip for for working on the game. And a lot of people did not take too kindly to this comment, mostly because it just feels like greed. They're like, games are already $70, another $20 on top of the game. That's one third of the price of a game almost. $10 is, less, but still we're already paying out the nose. And then, everything wants to do DLC and cosmetics and, all that. So, any kind of nickel and diming is not going to be received well. Plus, I know right now the tipping culture in America is kind of under attack online. A lot of people are not happy with the way tipping culture works and how everyone feels obligated to be tipping all the time. And why can't we pay these people a livable wage? Why is it that we have to, provide this money on the top to help them out? So, and then are you tipping enough? Should you be tipping more? And kind of that social guilt that goes along with it. So a lot of people did not like this idea of what he was saying. And a lot of people pointed out, okay, yeah, if I tip a dev, who's really getting that money? Because, it's not, that money's not going straight to a dev. That money's going to the pockets of whatever the developer is. And if you have, if I tip $20 and you're on a team of 160 people, how is that being distributed? Is it only being distributed to the devs? What is it only being distributed? Is it going to the art team? Is it each time it tips, it randomly picks a person and that person gets $20? Is it each person's getting like 1 cent per tip? Is the CEO getting 1 cent per tip, the same as the developer? So there's a whole bunch of kind of logistics that would make it very suspect as to where the money is going. So not the best reception online of this idea. So, and it's a Blizzard employee, of course. What?
Yeah, and I agree with you that it's coming from Blizzard and Microsoft and billionaires. Can't you just I agree to the idea of this game really made a lot of sales. Let's give a spiff to the developers to encourage them to work harder or to work better. But that's a company's problem.
Yeah.
That's not ours, right?
Yeah, a lot of people agreed that, with like indie games, this is great. And if you have something like a Kickstarter, yes, you can always donate more. So, if you're a fan of a game and it's like an indie studio and they're funding a second game and you really enjoyed the first one, donate a little bit more this next time, you can do that. So people are pointing out for indies, this is a great idea, but for like huge studios, maybe not.
Totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, I remember seeing this on itch.io at one point. I mean, it's still there, but I remember the only time I've ever done this is on itch, right? A lot of devs release their games and you can download like a full game for free. Usually they're like pretty much finished or almost finished, or it's a concept game, or it's like, this is the game I want to do. And then they do another game a year later or something like that. And I played this game, which is like a survival game, and you're a cat on the moon, and you get to do what like all survival games do. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And I donated $5. And I wish I'd done that more, because there are loads of indie games that the devs do have Patreons, and you can do Patreon and you can give them some extra dollars, or they offer you. There's a coffee site, Tip for Coffee or Coffee for Fun, some weird name, but you can give devs tips like that. Like the guys have said, I 100% agree. I think this is great for indie devs. If you're earning 100K plus salary working for a Blizzard or somebody, I probably think you don't need it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, my second story for today is, and again, I've seen people looking this up. And so I figured I'd let you guys know, maybe you're a middle-aged gamer who'd be like, okay, I've been playing 1080p games for a while. I've heard this thing about 4K. My older brother literally just got a new 8K TV for his house. And it is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like, I'd sell my arm for one of those, my left arm, since I'm a right-handed person. But yeah, so I've seen you guys look at this 4K 60 versus 1080 120 FPS. What is the difference? Does it matter? Should you do it? So at the moment, right, Antoine, Adam, myself, right, we have the option for 4K 60 FPS based on the hardware. I know both of these guys have. If I'm not mistaken, Antoine, you are 1080p at your house, right?
Yes.
And Adam, 1080p, of course.
On my TV or on my PC?
On your monitor.
My monitor right now is 1080p.
PC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why does it matter, right? Does 4K look better? Again, in my opinion, I know this is debatable still in 2024. It does. I started 4K gaming probably like 7 years ago. I bought a 4K monitor for like a crazy $1,100, which is still sitting over there, that is currently broken, that I need to take to the store to fix because it's just very heavy. But yeah, 4K monitors have come down. I paid $1,100 for the one over there. The one I have at the moment is $400. You can get a 4K 60 FPS monitor. This is 32 inches for about $400 at the moment. Does it look better? Yes, it does. Like when I play 1080p games on a 4K monitor, it looks better. When I go back to 1080p gaming, I'm like, oh my God, how can I ever do that? That being said, right, what a lot of people say is 4K or 1080p 120 FPS gaming matters for FPS games. So if you're playing a shooter, and especially if you're playing multiplayer games, that lag does matter. I have a 1080p 120 FPS 144 megahertz monitor in the living room, and I do remember, like from a working perspective, right, it does look better. It's like again, if you have a phone with a 128 megahertz refresh rate, you just like, and you're scrolling and you spend a lot of time on your phone. If you're watching TikTok videos or Instagram reels of middle-aged gaming, you will notice it feels smoother. Your eyes, it just feels better to sort of operate your phone. So I would say if you are a gamer, you should definitely go 4K 60 FPS, 120 FPS for middle-aged gamers. I don't know too many people who are competitively gaming beyond Adam, who I don't think competitively games, just plays Apex for fun, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're looking for an upgrade, yeah, just go 4K 60 FPS. It's fine. There are 4K 120, there's 4K 240, but 4K 120, 240 is really exponentially expensive. It's like the same price as my old monitor. 120 FPS or 120 megahertz monitor at 4K will set you back $1,000. 240 will set you back $1,500. So yeah, 4K 60 FPS works fine. Middle-aged gamers, just go for that. All right, and we're moving on, and a good time as well. All right, Antoine, final story for today.
So final story, it's good news for PlayStation and Switch user, because last year there's an indie game called Planet of Lana, which was released exclusively on Xbox and Game Pass for PC users. It has been on my backlog for ages, but now it is available on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch for the price of $19.99 US, which is great. Planet of Lana, you will love it simply because it's a very classic 2D puzzle platformer with a side scrolling. So if you ever played Limbo, if you ever play Inside, that's the same kind of graphics of gameplay. In this game, so you play Lana, of course, a young girl, and she explores a planet which is being invaded by hostile alien machine, and her goal is to rescue her sister who's been abducted by said alien. So it's a great game to play if you have some hours to waste, because it's a 4.5, maybe 5 hours game. And there's very, very positive review, although I'm surprised. I was absolutely convinced that it was as a Game Award in one of the indie game category. It was not, strangely. In any case, it's still a very good game, which could have been nominated, but wasn't. And yeah, so if you're looking for one of these super cool indie game to play after a big, heavy AAA, consider Planet of Lana.
Adam, have you heard of this?
The name sounds super familiar, but I don't remember specifically anything about it. Yeah, I think I'd seen. Now that I'm watching the video, I think I had seen something because the The part where she's riding around on a little machine thing looks a little bit familiar. I think I'd maybe seen some trailers about it, but I wasn't like super familiar with it. No.
And whenever we talk about like new games or games we should have heard of, it always reminds me of Antoine's comments over how long we've been doing this together. It's just like, where was the marketing, right? Where was the thing that to tell people like this game is out? And then it also reminds me of what a lot of studios have said in the last 15, 18 months. Like, it's so hard to get discovered on the Switch store when there's 1,000+ games at any one point, or on Steam. I don't know what it's like on PlayStation, or I don't know if you've ever read anything to that effect, but it's so important to sort of allocate resources for marketing, be it indirect or direct or Twitter or Threads or whatever you want to do. Just like get it out there. Like there's a guy I'm following without Threads account, Carnival of Company, and it's just two people making this amazing game where you fight demons and you eat them and gain their powers. And I'm like, that's awesome. I love that idea. And he posts videos every day, but I'm like, yeah, you also want to associate faces. Like that's why I'm trying to. Back in the day from Middle Age Gaming, right, I would just post like a game trailer and have Adam's voice or Antoine's voice, and then one of the things I've noticed is you guys respond more to seeing Adam, seeing Antoine, and you like to look at them and while you see the video on top or video on the bottom and listen to them talk, right? And I think that's just a society where we are at the moment, where you want to connect an opinion with who they are and where they live, and they're thinking like, okay, and maybe when you're drinking coffee, like, Adam said it interesting, or oh my God, I disagree with Antoine so much, or something like that, right? So yeah, no, it sounds like an interesting game, and I'll definitely have to have a look at it on the Switch for sure. All right, Adam, final story for today.
My final story is going to be about Persona. So apparently a Twitter, I guess they're called an insider. The name is Midori. They're on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. I still like Twitter. They should call it Twitter. But anyway, they came out and they said that it looks like there's going to be some kind of remake and or remaster of Personas 1 and 2, which would bring basically all the Personas to modern consoles or modern systems. So the original two, these are quite old. I believe they are maybe PS2 or even PSP for some of them. It's not clear whether these are going to be remakes or remasters. So these might just be kind of glow-ups of the old games, just maybe made for 4K or whatever. Or they might be complete remasters like what we got with Persona 3 Reload. It's not quite clear which one. And in fact, the person who leaked it said that they are just going to refer to them as an updated form in order to be safe, because they're not even quite sure what quite they're going to be doing. So yeah, and that's basically it on that. Also, in terms of Persona 3 Reload, a lot of people have been asking if we're going to get some DLC for the female protagonist, so we can play through the game as the female protagonist. Unfortunately, the developers said there's no plan for Persona 3 Reload to add a female protagonist, and they said that basically they talked about it, they wanted to do it, but they decided that the amount of resources and the amount of time that it would take would actually be much longer than it would have been for episode Aegis, and as a result they said we're just going to release episode Aegis and leave it at that. So it looks like, unfortunately, we are not going to be getting that definitive Persona 3 where it's going to have everything. We're still going to be lacking the female protagonist there. So, but yeah, Persona news. People love Persona.
So I suppose they are doing 1 and 2. That means that 3 must have really worked.
Yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah, 3's been really successful. Back to what I was saying before, which unfortunately I guess nobody watching the show could hear due to my audio. But yeah, unfortunately, I think like with Persona 3 Reload, since you're going back and you're basically redoing the game and in modern graphics, everybody's on the same page. Whereas you do the remake like Final Fantasy VII style, and you get a divided fan base, because now you have your original people and you have your newer people, and yeah, no, it's pretty united. It's a pretty united front that Persona 3 Reload is really good. So at some point I'm going to have to play it, but unfortunately I have a lot of games on my plate coming up, and I need to play Stellar Blade soon, so that I can be on top of it. If I was not doing the podcast, I'd probably save it for later. But we got to stay modern here, so I got to at least played some new games. So yeah.
Very nice. Okay, my final game for today is, are you tired of PvP extraction shooters? Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and wherever you are, finally we have a solution of all this crazy kill each other nonsense that's stemmed from freaking Fortnite and went to Rainbow Six and went to Call of Duty and Apex and Valorant, all this stuff. I mean, this stuff, it's like literally the biggest waste of time. Die, wait, and no, I don't get it. Can't do it. Same with like PvP and MMOs. Like, why would you just spend all this time doing this thing and let some idiot in Turkey kill you? No offense, Turkey. But yeah, so devs, I should say, have finally said, okay, we're going to solve this. We're going to make a PvE extraction shooter. So an extraction shooter is like, you guys might have heard me talk about The Division, right? Where in The Division, there was a PvP extraction version. It was called the Dark Zone, which is like this really cool area. You went in, you got all the best gear. But in the Dark Zone, it was like a free-for-all. Anybody could shoot anybody. You have to get all this gear. You have to call in an extraction helicopter. And when you call in the helicopter, it was like, oh my God, Priyan and Antoine and Adam are extracting. Let's go kill them. And you have to fight off all these guys. And, you know, it's like, if you're really, really good and you put in, 100, 300, 500 hours into the game, yeah, you'd survive. But if you just, somebody wants to get some good gear, you just die all the time. Like, what the hell, game? So Incursion Predator is a game made by Games of Tomorrow, GmbH. It is in early access for 2 years, just released as of April 11th. It is set in modern day Vietnam, so you have modern weapons. When I first saw this game, I'm like, oh my God, Vietnam, are we really going back to old weapons again? I hate games with old weapons. Hate it a lot. This game is $230, so this might be expensive on your own store, but it is a 3-player co-op PvE game. So this in the sort of Operation Sandstorm, if you're not familiar with that sort of game, where they tried to do like a bot version of the game, and that really sucked. But this is a game which at the moment, I believe, has about 20 weapons, has 2 game modes and 1 map, or 2 maps, I believe. And basically you can go in and you do missions, like you sabotage and you do this, and the AI is somewhat decent, so it is fairly difficult, and it involves tactics. If you're watching the video right, it's not just run in and shoot stuff really quickly. It's sort of people taking their time, peeking around corners, making sure you have cover, and it looks super, super fun. Like I shared this with my brothers. I shared this with another friend of mine. I'm like, oh man, we should play this after we play Enshrouded. And I'm really excited about that. Not to mention, I will have to say though, the special offer ends in 6 days. So there's a 20% discount at the moment. So if you are interested in it, please be aware of that. So yeah, 2 years. So by the end of this year, they have a 2024 roadmap. It's going to include another map. It's going to include 7 new weapons, more contract types, bosses, and defense missions. And it does look that they have a very definitive plan. I'm not familiar with this studio myself, so I'll have a quick look. Yeah, this seems to be their first game on Steam, so that's always something to be aware of, because you guys have heard me talk about stories of games that backed on Kickstarter. They might arrive onto Steam, and then 3 months later, like, yeah, we've run out of money, or nobody's buying this game on Steam or wishlisting this game on Steam. So, take this with a grain of salt, right? You could buy this game, and the guys will be like, yeah, we have no money, and then 6 months later or a year later, you just lost your money pretty much. So I've already bought this. Would like to play it at some point. But I don't know when, because I'm still doing all the Atelier games. But yeah, Incursion, I already forgot what the name is. Incursion is the game you guys should consider.
Just got a question.
Yeah.
Could the timing be worse?
Why?
PV extraction. Helldiver. Everybody's on Helldiver right now. I mean, they need to have the Helldiver mania go down before thinking of doing another PvE extraction game. Even if I understand that it's more tactical and it's more slowed down, Helldiver is really taking a massive part of the player base right now. So,
oh, for sure. I think this is definitely more leaning into the modern weapons that people are familiar with, or it's like all the stuff like people want to play in Rainbow Six Siege or the Division or the Division 3 that's been worked on and it's done in a modern setting. I think there's an audience for it, but you're right, Helldivers is definitely a big problem. But I still think, given the timeline and given that these guys, of course, must have the funding for the next 2 years, hopefully, I think it should work out. But that's a good question.
I don't think anybody could have predicted how successful Helldivers was going to be either. I mean, the first one was popular, but it was nowhere near the levels of the second one. So, they've been developing this for a while.
It's so fun.
Yeah, Nuba Cooper in the chat over here. All the games we buy but never play.
Yes. All right, guys. Final thoughts to end up today's episode. Antoine.
Nothing special. I was, because we spent some time looking for news for this show, and we go to Kotaku, Game Rant, all of this website, and we have a lot of things. I just wanted to say with my usual sarcasm, in the news that we really don't care about: Pokemon fan art, Imagine, Mega Evolution for Jinx. Yeah, keep going. We are swamped with this kind of stuff, so please like, share, and comment our video because we are complete amateurs. We're not doing this professionally for money yet, and we still have to put some work on it. So show us support. We have to go through this crap news all the time.
And then almost done with Dragon's Dogma.
I'm on New Game Plus.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, I'm on New Game Plus. I changed up my Arisen and I changed up my pawn, and we're playing through that. So I'm doing a lot of Batal quests because last time somebody's pawn turned into a shadow dragon and killed everybody in Batal, and that shut me out of all those quests. so I'm getting those ones done. Yeah, and then I'm going to try to get the true ending. I got the good ending the first time. I'm going to try to get the true ending. I had to look up how to do it, which now that I saw how to do it, I was like, oh yeah, no, that makes perfect sense because that's basically how you did it in the first game. So I feel kind of an idiot for not thinking of that. But yeah, I'm gonna still enjoying it, still having a lot of fun. I've maxed out all the vocations, and I'm just kind of running around and having fun and gearing up a little bit more. And yeah.
Is it still the same cycle story as the first game?
Not exactly. So in the first game, in the first game, it was it looped. Like the ending of the first game was the beginning. So it would, so you were stuck in a cycle here. Here it's just I don't know about the true ending, but on the good ending and the bad ending, it's just the ending of the game, and then you just start New Game Plus. So it doesn't connect in a loop like it did in the first one. It's the same functionally, but yeah, it's story-wise, it doesn't do that.
Okay.
And for me, I'm at the final boss of Atelier Riser after 30 hours of gameplay. Loving it still. I've actually loved it so much that I've already bought the second game, and my anticipation is I might play the entire franchise for the next 3 months. Which is something.
The entire Atelier Liza or Atelier series?
The one that's available on Switch, so like number 2 and number 3.
That's Riza,
because you enter Atelier series, it's not 3 months, it's 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Atelier Sophie and Atelier what else? And yeah.
You have 30 games at least. It's massive, Atelier.
I've seen all of this on Reddit because, with cookie tracking and everything, my Reddit now knows that I'm playing these Atelier games. And I when I play on the Switch, I sit with my phone next to me because I often get stuck. Like, how do you make this thing? And I Google it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so now all my devices know that I'm playing this game, and Reddit send me suggestions, Atelier, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, how many games do I have to play? Good to know that it's 3 years. But no, I'm just going to play the Switch collection most likely. And then I'll figure out what to play after that. But yeah, I'm having fun. I might actually take a step outside and maybe give that Persona stuff a try at some point. And just hit the A button every time people talk. Unless it's super important.
Why even bother playing a Persona game?
For the combat. That's what I love about the Atelier, right? Well, I love the crafting and I love the combat. Yeah.
The combat's fine, but...
Not for the music. You can play Persona 5 for the music.
I'm just skipping through it all quickly. Don't savor the moment.
I guess we'll see. We'll see if I can actually do it. I'm very much like the person who likes to binge watch TV shows. Like I mentioned, the guys, I'm watching Stargate SG-1 from season 1. I'm on season 3 at the moment, and so like I'll watch like 10 years of a TV show altogether. So this will be the gaming thing. But no, I really want to try it because Adam played Persona 5 Tactica, right? Tactica.
Yeah, that one's shorter.
Tactica. So I want to give it a try. But anyway, this has gone on long enough. As always, guys, stay tuned for the long videos. We love the support for Adam's Final Fantasy video. Please stay tuned for today's video, which was the segment we recorded. That will come out tomorrow. I'm going to ask Adam to make us a wonderful thumbnail for that, because that will be tomorrow's video. And stay tuned for other content during the week. If you're liking any particular content, don't forget to check out Antoine's Helldivers 2 coverage. You may not have liked his other 2 videos from last week, but you are liking the Illuminate video and the whatever the hell that means. Anyway, Antoine can explain that better than I can. And stay tuned and keep an eye out for more videos during the week. And as always, right, just a reminder, videos are Thursday through Saturday, and then Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week. We don't do any videos on Sunday and Monday. And then we'll see you guys the same time next week. More news, more games, and more wonderful stories. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.